Do you believe in taboos? Like how you shouldn't stick chopsticks upright in a bowl of rice, or leave white shoes at the door at night, or turn around if someone calls your name late at night. If you don't believe in this stuff, let me tell you a story. After hearing it, you might start thinking there's something to it after all. My adoptive dad was in the hospital and we were desperate for money. So I had no choice but to take a job at a paper crafting shop, you know, the kind that makes stuff for funerals. But this place had some seriously weird rules. First rule, no living person except me was allowed inside the shop. Second rule, after sunset, the doors had to be locked tight and the front door absolutely couldn't be opened. If I needed to leave in a hurry, I could only use the back door. Third rule, at night, I wasn't allowed to touch any of the paper figures or horses in the shop. And every night at midnight, I had to put incense in front of a pair of creepy figurines they kept there. Those figurines were freaky as hell. They looked like a couple in some kind of underworld wedding, but instead of holding a red thread like you'd expect, their hands were bound tight with thick iron chains. The shop's owner was this old Taoist guy, but here's the weird part, he wouldn't even step foot inside the place. When I first went in, he just stood far off watching me. He told me I had to sign a contract with him, but instead of paper, he pulled out a yellow talisman. I dripped my blood on it, and just like that he handed the shop over to me and bolted like he couldn't get away fast enough. That first night at midnight, I stuck the incense in the holder in front of those figurines. The holder was huge, taller than me. When I got close, it felt like their eyes were staring right into me. I scrambled down the ladder quick, but then my back went cold. I turned around, and it was like all the paper figures and horses were watching me too. Now in this trade, everyone knows you're not supposed to paint eyes on paper figures. It's a big no-no. But every single one in the shop had blood red eyes. I freaked out and ran to the back room. Outside, there was this shady middle-aged guy lurking around, not too far from the shop. He had tattoos on his neck, looked like a gecko and a bat. He crept up to the door, muttering to himself, "The feng shui here's all about position. This spot's gotta be a gathering place for 100 ghosts. Anyone crazy enough to open a shop here, their whole family wouldn't last a day. Whatever's inside's probably some nasty spirits." This guy was a headhunter, a jiangtou. You know, one of those creepy sorcerer types. He pressed his eye to the crack in the door, and right then, the paper figures inside moved. With their blood-red cheeks, they all turned their heads at once, staring straight at the door. It was stiff and mechanical, and fast as hell. Feeling the dark energy seeping out, the headhunter got spooked and backed off a couple steps. He sized up the shop's location again, muttering, "The whole town's built around this place, forming a white tiger shaw breaking pattern. Could it be the entire town was made just to suppress whatever's in there? How terrifying must that thing be?" He didn't dare make a move yet. Instead, he opened a jar of corpse worms, pulled a bat out of his coat, and said, "Bat God, sorry to trouble you, old man, but I need you to check it out for me." He stuck his middle finger in the bat's mouth, letting it suck his blood. The bat's eyes glowed red, and with a flap of its fleshy wings, it squeezed through the door crack. The headhunter stepped across the street, watching carefully. This paper shop was dripping with weird vibes. He wasn't taking any chances. 10 minutes passed, and the bat didn't come back. Just as he was about to go check, his face went pale. The bat tattoo on his neck exploded, blood gushing everywhere. He clamped his hand over it, and before he passed out, he yanked out a dark green centipede and pressed it to the wound. The centipede burrowed into his neck, crawling fast toward his head. The bleeding stopped, but he stared at the shop in terror. The bat god is dead. What the hell's in there? Stumbling, he fled the town into the woods. But then he started choking, like invisible hands were strangling him. He thought it was just some ghost messing with him, so he tried every trick he knew to banish it. Nothing worked. As he was about to suffocate, he grabbed a knife, sliced open his thigh, and dug out a tiny skull the size of a cow's eye. Its eyes glowed red. It was a spirit charm his master gave him to save his life. "Spirit charm, save me," he roared before blacking out. When he woke up, his neck burned like it had been branded with hot iron. He pulled out a mirror and froze. The gecko and bat tattoos were gone, replaced by a black handprint, like something was choking him. No matter how he scrubbed, it wouldn't come off. It was like it degrown into his flesh. What kind of monster-s in that shop? It tracked me down through the bat god's energy to kill me. He shouted, furious. "Fine, you wanna play. If you want me dead, you're not getting off easy either." He found a graveyard, dug up a corpse, and pulled out a finger-sized centipede. It crawled into the body as he poured corpse oil over it, chanting. The corpse twitched and came to life. "Flesh puppet s ready," he sneered, pointing it toward the town. The thing roared and charged straight for the paper shop. Back at the shop, I heard someone calling me from the back door. It was Old Son, the coffin maker. He stood way off like he was scared of the place. I stepped out to meet him. "What's up, Uncle Son?" He sighed, looking at me. "You Ray, a good kid, helped me out a lot. I'll do what I can for you." He handed me a yellow talisman. "Keep this on you, close to your skin. Sleep under the bed tonight. Whatever you hear or see, ignore it. If you make it to sunrise, you'll get through this mess." I didn't get what he meant. "What Ray you talking about?" I don't understand. He just said, "If you want to live, do what I say. You never should be taking this shop." Then he sighed again and left. I didn't fully get his cryptic warning, but I trusted Old Son wouldn't steer me wrong. Could ghosts really be real? Was I actually in danger tonight? Thinking it over, I gripped the talisman tight and went back inside. A big yellow dog ran up to me. The shop couldn't have other living people, but animals were fine. This dog wasn't ordinary. Neighbors said it was over. But years old and still bouncing around like a pup. They reckon it turned into a spirit. Normally it was fierce, but tonight it cowered next to me, even looking at me like it was begging for something. At midnight, after lighting incense for the figurines, I dove under the bed fast. Then I remembered, usually when I did this, it felt like the rows of paper figures were staring at me. Their bodies didn't move, but those blood-red eyes seemed alive. Tonight, though, I didn't feel that. It was like I was invisible to them. Was it the talisman? Just then, a huge wind kicked up outside, howling sharp and loud. Thunder rolled, and rain poured down. In the flash of lightning, I saw a shadow charge toward me. I freaked out and shrank back, but it just dove into my blankets. When I looked, I relaxed. It was just the yellow dog. Outside, the paper figures turned their heads toward the front door, creepy as ever. Then bam, a crash. The front door got smashed open, and a nasty, bloody stench blew in with the storm. The moment that flesh puppet broke in, the paper figures didn't move, but they let out this eerie giggle. The puppet didn't dare mess with them, inching along the middle path instead. Their red eyes followed it, tracking every step. I thought it might be a thief, so I wanted to check. But the dog's paws pinned me down. Remembering Old Son's words, I stayed put. Me and the dog stared at the bedroom door, scared out of our minds. The puppet made it past the paper figures and stopped under the figurines. In the lightning-esque glow, they looked even creepier. When the puppet saw them, its snarling face turned to pure terror. It dropped to its knees, butt in the air, trembling and slamming its head on the floor so hard its skin split and bones cracked. Then a faint voice came from the female figurine. All the paper figures and the puppet tilted their heads to listen. It sounded like opera singing, but it stopped after a few seconds. The puppet banged his head 3 more times, then shakily got up and headed toward my room. Hearing those heavy footsteps, me and the dog panicked. Minutes passed with no sound. I thought it left. Then crash, the bedroom door flew open. From under the bed, all I could see was a pair of muddy, bare feet. The thing paced around, then bent down. Its rotting, fleshless face came into view, and I nearly screamed. The dog clamped its paws over my mouth just in time. The puppet didn't spot us, but it went nuts, trashing the room. Windows shattered, wind and rain poured in. It yanked the blanket off the bed, soaking me and the talisman. The red ink on it started to fade. The puppet sniffed, turning toward me. It roared and reached out with a maggot-covered arm. I was done for, but the dog leaped up, tore off a piece of my shirt, and bolted out the window. The puppet sensed life and chased after it. I finally relaxed, but then I worried about the dog. Grabbing a kitchen knife, I ran out after them. Not long after I left, the wind and rain flooded the shop through the broken door. The paper figures rustled, and a yellow cloth covering the figurines stand blew off. Lightning lit it up. It wasn't a stand, but a pitch-black coffin, nailed shut with blood-red spikes and wrapped in golden threads. Tiger-shaped weights pinned the corners, facing inward. Outside, Old Son stood in the storm, staring at the wrecked shop. He didn't dare go in. He walked to a broken bridge, squatted down, and sniffed some wall dirt, even tasting it. No way is this whole house built with human flesh and blood. Shocked, he stared at the reddish soil, then smeared grave dirt on his eyelids. When he opened his eyes, they glowed green. Looking again, he saw skeletons nailed into the walls, their tormented spirits crying for help, blood tears streaming down. Freaked out, he washed off the dirt and stumbled back to his coffin shop. Soon after, an old lady, Granny Liu, showed up. An umbrella floated above her, shielding her from the rain. She walked to the door, hesitated, then tried to step in. An invisible force shoved her back. Where her foot almost landed, a white line of bone ash appeared, a life and death boundary. She wasn't shocked like she'd expected it. Standing at the threshold, she looked at the paper figures and the chained figurines. 100 years and you still want rest. How many more lives will you take? The paper figures twisted their heads to glare at her, and that eerie opera singing started again. Enter and die, retreat and live. A gust of dark wind blasted out, thunder rumbling overhead. Granny Liu didn't hesitate. She turned and hurried back to her place, her left arm raised like someone invisible was helping her. Meanwhile, in a cave, the headhunter checked his neck in a mirror. If he'd killed the shop's master, the handprint should be faded. It hadn't. You damn paper shop bastards, if I don't die, you are the ones who will. As he cursed, his breathing got tight again, like those invisible hands were back. The opera singing echoed in his ears. He begged, spare me, I want to do it again. But the singing just kept going. He dumped all his glue. Bugs on his neck, everyone burst and died on contact with the handprint. Soon, the singing stopped. His head twisted clean off his body. I chased the dog and the puppet all night, but found no trace of them. When I got back to the shop, I was stunned. Last night it'd been trashed, now it looked brand new, like nothing had happened. The yellow dog ran out from inside, and seeing it safe put me at ease. Maybe it'd shaken off the puppet, but the shop's weirdness still creeped me out. Thinking of old son, who saved me, I figured he might know something. At his coffin shop, surrounded by coffins, old son lay on a rattan chair, his eyes wrapped in thick gauze. What's wrong with your eyes? I asked. Saw something I shouldn't have, he said with a bitter smile, brushing it off. I asked about the paper shop. He got cagey, shaking his head. It's not that I don't wanna help kid. I just don't know much, and what I do know won't do you any good. That place is seriously bad news. If you wanna live longer, stick to the rules, don't mess up even a little. Live longer? You mean I don't have much time left? His words hit me hard. He sighed, can hide it from you? Before you, a few kids your age worked there. None lasted a month, all died out of nowhere violently. My heart raced. So Ivy only got a couple weeks. I blurted out, is there something dirty in the shop? He shook his head, I don't know, and I don't dare say. Just be careful. He unwrapped his eyes, green and glowing. The stuff in that shop is getting worse. I just took one look and now I am like this, not quite human, not quite ghost. Can I run away? I asked. He sighed again. You can't. You signed a ghost contract with that Taoist. Break it and the spirits will get you. You stuck within you. Leave the shop, go farther, and you trigger a ghost curse. Furious, I snapped, what if I burn the damn place down? He shook his head. You tied to it now. Burn it and you hurt yourself. Last night when the window broke, didn't your eye get injured too? He said the only way out was finding a real master to train me, but good luck finding one. It'd be up to fate. Feeling doomed, I went to a bun shop and ordered a dozen meat buns. If I was gonna die, I'd at least be a full ghost. As I stuffed my face, a weird guy sat across from me, pale as death, cheeks sunken like a corpse. He stared at me the whole time, creeping me out. I asked the owner to pack the rest and headed back to the shop. The guy followed, grinning weirdly. This paper shop is yours, huh? Nice, nice. He patted my shoulder and left. I didn't notice he snipped a lock of my hair and slipped a gray pill into my tofu soup. Back at the shop, I ate the packed food, including the soup. Old son said I couldn't leave Lee, so I figured this was my last meal before hitting the road. I hopped on my old bike and rode out of town. I half believed his warnings, half didn't. I wanted to see what happened. Plus, I figured no master would be in this little town. They'd be up in the mountains. If fate was real, maybe I'd find one and live. As dusk fell, I hit a forest. The farther I went, the more uneasy I got, like one more step would doom me. Then my chest exploded in pain, like an invisible hand was crushing my heart. I couldn't breathe, couldn't move. I crashed off the bike. The curse was real. Dragging myself back toward town, the pain eased the closer I got. Rain started pouring and I looked for shelter. Then I saw a light ahead and heard faint opera singing through the storm. Middle of nowhere, dead of night, who'd be performing? For who? The answer hit me, no one alive, just ghosts. I grabbed my bike and ran, but no matter which way I turned, the singing stayed ahead, getting closer. Worse, my body stopped listening to me. It started walking toward the stage on its own. Under the stage, the rain didn't touch me. The audience was packed, and pale-faced actors in flower costumes costume sang on stage. A waiter dressed like an old-time servant led me to a seat, bringing tea and snacks. I looked closer and nearly puked. Maggots wriggled in the tea, and the snacks were rotting, crawling with bugs. When I didn't eat, the waiter got pushy. "Why aren't you eating?" The crowd stood surrounding me, their dead eyes locked on me. I wanted to run, but my body wouldn't move. The waiter grabbed a maggoty pastry, shoving it toward my mouth. Right then, a clear voice cut through. "Enough. You're ruining the name of us Northeastern immortals." A guy in ancient robes appeared in front of me. The crowd shrank back to their seats, terrified. He ignored them, pulled me away, and when I looked back, there was no stage, just a few weasels in costumes prancing on a broken coffin, surrounded by graves. The audience was more weasels, each with a skull on its head. "Don't get the wrong idea," the guy said. "They were not proper immortals like me, just small-time spirits doing their own thing. My lineage only does good, never harm." It clicked. He was one of those horse-riding immortals Old Sun mentioned, a yellow immortal from the Yuhuan by Liu Hu clans. A real master who could save me. I opened my mouth to beg, but a sharp pain hit my gut. I screamed and collapsed, my stomach swelling, fast like a pregnant woman. "Old immortal, save me." I yelled, then blacked out. Meanwhile, in the deep woods, that corpse-faced guy from the bun shop sat chanting over a white cow skull. He slipped me that pill. Dripping corpse oil on the skull, he grinned. "With my cow. Cool, you dead." He dug into a hole in his scalp, pulling out live maggots. "Rotting already," he muttered, chewing them up. He chanted harder, and my belly grew bigger. The immortal knelt beside me, hand on my stomach. "We met by fate, I'll save you." He chanted, and with a pop, I spat out a whole cowhide. He folded it, handed it to me, and fed me a pill. "You a 5 ghost child destined to live between yin and yang. When you strong enough, use this hide to find the one who cursed you and get revenge." Then he turned into a giant yellow weasel and vanished into the woods. I woke up late at night, bummed he was gone. My watch said I had an hour till midnight. I hadn't lit the figurines incense yet. After last night, I wasn't risking breaking the rules. Back at the shop, the yellow dog stood in the middle, glancing between the clock and the figurines, eyes full of fear, like something awful would happen if I missed it. As the clock ticked closer, it bit its teeth and rammed the door, but it wouldn't budge. When midnight hit, the paper figures came alive, jerking their heads and shuffling toward the door, red eyes glaring at the town's lights like starving ghosts ready to feast. The dog whimpered, backing up, then growled and blocked their path. They stopped, but there were too many. It couldn't hold them all. As the first one neared the door, that bone ash line flashed up and it screeched, retreating. The rest froze, too scared to cross. The dog relaxed, and so did Old Sun and Granny Liu, watching from the shadows. "Where's that kid?" they muttered, worried. Without his 5 ghost fate holding things down, that line 1T stop what's behind it. They were right. 2 hours later, the opera singing started again, chilling and faint. Old Sun and Granny Liu went white. "Oh no," they ray awake. The figurines' eyes snapped open, one green, one white. They floated off the coffin, chains dragging behind them, clanking on the floor. The paper figures parted, bowing like servants before royalty. The two hesitated. Were they about to fight? When a hand shot out from the coffin, yanking the chains. The figurines couldn't break free. The paper figures shut their red eyes tight, trembling like mice before a cat. I pedaled back, just then bursting in. The second I stepped inside, everything stopped, paper figures and figurines back in place, the hand gone. I sighed, called the confused dog back, and shut the door. Lighting the incense, I felt something off. The figurines and the whole shop seemed colder, darker. As I headed to my room, I tripped over something, blood-red coffin nails that deepened in the figurine's coffin. Weird. Old Sun and Granny Liu slipped away. "How many kids have come to this shop?" she asked. "9, he said grimly. 9's the limit. If he can hold it, great. If not, only the horse riding path might save him." They debated asking Zhang Bangxian, a shady half-immortal, for help. He dealt with wild spirits, not proper immortals, sometimes even killing to steal them. But they were out of options. I slept soundly, no nightmares of paper figures staring at me. But when I got up, I tripped over something soft. A tall guy in ancient robes, handsome as hell, lay on the floor. I woke him up, but he just stared into the distance, silent. He had a gold token with king on it, so I called him Wang Yaokai. Wang got talent. "I am Zhao Yuliang, Zhao got light." Sounded like brothers. I treated him like one, even washing his back. His tattoo, a black winged dragon, made me wonder if he was some gangster. But wait, the shop didn't allow living people. How did he get in? Maybe that rule was fake. I gave him breakfast, but he wouldn't eat. I dumped it in the dog's bowl and told the dog, bro, this is my cousin Wang Yaokai. He staying with us, don't bite him. The dog looked up, froze, then freaked out, dragging me toward the door by my pants. Dog bro, what is your deal? I yanked back. Wang Yaokai walked out and the dog calms down whimpering. I explained the shop's rules. He nodded once like he got it. Granny Liu showed up, saying she found someone to help me ride the horse and set up an immortal hall. I had to prep food to welcome them. Life or death stuff, I agreed fast. I hid Wang Yaokai in my room and got ready. Old Sun brought in a middle-aged woman, Zhang Bengxian. She looked like a grasshopper turned human, all bones and sunken skin. Seeing the shop, she griped, if I'd known it was this cursed place, no amount of begging would got me here. Old Sun Sweet talked her, but she still hesitated. Then she cocked her ear, listening to something I couldn't hear, and started jabbering to the air. Her eyes flicked to the front room, fear and greed mixed in them. Finally, she gritted her teeth and agreed. She hung a huge yellow cloth between the back and front rooms, wrote Chu River hand border on it with pot ash ink, and muttered chants. When the front room didn't react, she relaxed, sat cross-legged, and chanted more. Her body twitched, and when her eyes opened, they were dirt yellow, cold as ice. Old Sun whispered, be respectful, the immortal has taken her. Her voice turned shrill. So you're Ray the kid who wants to ride the horse and light incense. I nodded fast. Please, immortal, help me. She squinted at me. 5 ghost child born to walk the yin-yang line. What do I look like to you? I didn't get the last part. Granny Liu popped her umbrella over my head and my vision blurred, then cleared. Zhang Bengxian wasn't human anymore. A giant grasshopper stared back. I stumbled back, freaked out. She smirked. Not bad. A bit of a cheat, but UV opened your yin-yang eyes. First step is done. She waved me over. Here is the deal. If I can get a proper yellow or gray immortal to guard your hall, I'll toss some of my own crew your way. Granny Liu didn't want me stuck with bloodthirsty wild spirits and tried to argue, but the immortal snapped, don't like my crew. Why do you call me then? Wanna throw downs? I'll bring my whole gang. Granny Liu shut up. The immortal grabbed yellow paper and scribbled a hall list, names of spirits to invite. Granny Liu frowned, no legit who, Huang by Liu who names, just random evil spirits I'd never heard of. Each name oozed dark energy, not a hint of kindness. The immortal told me to set it up and offer meat regularly, no other steps, just that. When it left Zhang Bengxian's body, she looked drained. Don't sleep tonight, she said. Stand at the back door and welcome the immortals in. I tucked Wang Yaokai in and stood at the door with black umbrella to see the spirits. Bored, I noticed old lady Li under a street lamp. She'd been sick and gone to the city hospital that afternoon. Why was she back? Alone in the dark, I ran over. Granny Li, what were you doing out here? It's windy, let me walk you home. She sighed, silly kid, you shouldn't be able to see me. A white bus rolled up, no driver, just stopped on its own. She stepped on without a word. I followed, confused, and saw Zhang Bengxian inside. Granny Li shoved me off. You idiot, hopping on anything, are you trying to die? The bus vanished. Her voice lingered. Don't wander at night with an umbrella, you'll run into ghosts. I dropped the umbrella and bolted back. In my hand was a rotten piece of wood, stinking of decay. It been a handrail on that bus. I tried to toss it, but it stuck to my palm, then turned to black smoke and sank into me. No way, this can possess me too. Then I heard chittering outside, sharp and annoying. 8 blurry figures floated toward the back door, exactly the number on Zhang Bengxian's list. The immortals were here. I lit 3 incense sticks, bowed and said, welcome honored immortals. They eyed me, puzzled how I'd opened my yin-yang eyes. I led them to their plaques. They had animal heads, slouching on the stands, no trace of immortal dignity. Were these really immortals? In a forest, the corpse face guy who cursed me found out I wasn't dead. At a fresh grave, he drove a sharpened peachwood stake into it, poured some weird liquid, and chanted. A female ghost burst out, lunging at him. He grinned, tied an oil-soaked rope around her neck, and she thrashed like she was choking. Kill him, he ordered, handing her my hair. She sniffed it, screeched, and shot toward town. The yellow dog sensed something and barked like crazy. The ghost hesitated at the door, scared of the dog, then peeked through a side window. The paper figures snapped their heads toward her, some giggling and creeping closer. She screamed and ran, but circled back to the rear. This time, the 8 wild immortals surrounded her. Oh, trying to steal our food. Hurt our new boss. She was just a lone ghost, no match for these century-old creeps. She trembled as one yelled, "Hey, Lionsy, something S after your life. We LL handle it for a year of your lifespan. Deal." Half asleep, I mumbled They cheered. The ghost screamed and went silent. A rope hit the ground. "It S got a master," one said. "Let us take out the guy behind it. 2 years of lifespan this time." Still groggy, I mumbled again. They grinned, turned into animals, and raced off toward the graveyard. They came back one short, must V died fighting. Pissed, they didn't care about their loss, and sucked 3 more years of my life anyway. Wang Yaokai saw it all, but they didn't notice him. Next morning, I woke up exhausted. The dog gave me a pitying look. Wang Yaokai sat stiffly, staring at the side room. I greeted him and started cooking. He spoke, first time ever. "You got a lot of lifespan to spare." I didn't think about it, just grinned. "You can talk." I was worried you were mute. I bombarded him with questions. "Where S home? Want me to take you back?" He looked annoyed, turned away. I rambled about my life anyway. When the food was ready, I asked, "So what is your real name? Where you from?" "I don't remember anything," he said. I felt bad. "No worries, stay here then. Be my cousin." He paused, then said one word, "Okay." Suddenly, I felt less tired, like the world got clearer. Outside, sirens wailed. Cops found a mauled body in the graveyard like a beast got it. They were checking for missing people. A cop I knew stopped by, asked a few questions, and mentioned they were executing some prisons soon. "Good business for you, go check it out." He showed me a photo of the condemned. "Lighthead gang," I muttered. I didn't see their eyes flash green. I told Wang Yaokai to stay put, maybe mess with some paper if he got bored. At the execution ground, vendors like me were already there, chatting up families of the dead. A few relatives showed up, but they didn't buy anything, just smiled bitterly about too much pride. No business, so I left. That place was one of the 4 evil grounds. Who do want to stick around? Walking back, I overheard them whispering about old masters a raging 7-color stone, Jiantou, and white tiger Shaw shaking eyes. Gibberish to me, but my hearing was weirdly sharp. Back at the shop, Wang Yaokai had made 2 paper figures, stunning like art. They oozed pride, bowing only to him, treating everyone else like trash. I reached to touch one, but a force knocked me back. Wang Yaokai grabbed me, frowning. "Don't be rude. This is my great hero." "Who you talking to?" "The paper figures." He nodded and walked off. I called him cousin, and those haughty figures suddenly bowed to me too. Holy crap, that is cool. I set them at the door, perfect living signs. Business would boom. Granny Liu came by, stunned by the paper figures, thinking they were from the old owner. She asked about my wild immortal haul, then stopped staring at me. "You had immortals do something last night, didn't you?" "No, I just slept." She didn't buy it. "Then why is your energy so low? You won't last long like this." I remembered the ghost bus and told her about Granny Lee and Zhang Bangxian. She went pale. "Granny Lee died last night, and Zhang Bangxian was on it." I nodded. Crying echoed from afar, "Granny Lee's son. She is gone, but what about Zhang Bangxian?" Granny Liu muttered, "Yin spirit bus, that evil thing showing up here. Does it mean more deaths?" She told me to pass Granny Lee's words to her family, then meet her at her place. "Your hall needs a proper guardian immortal. Let us see if I can find one." Her shop was pitch black, draped in dark curtains. 3 white candles burned on a table with a bowl of rice. She sat me across from her. "You Ray 5 ghost child, what comes up might not be friendly. Don T ask how it died. If it possesses me and 1 tea leaf, throw incense ash from the burner on me." I got nervous, sounded risky. "Maybe we skip this," she sighed. "Without a full haul, you LL end up like Zhang Bangxian. Let us do it. You don't even know your parents' birth dates, so we LL ask the dead." She cut my finger, mixed the blood with rice, and told me to keep my hand in it. She stuck a bloody grain on my forehead, lit 3 incense sticks, and chanted, "Horse General, lead the dead. Hurry, wake up, take this disciple to the underworld for lost souls." A cold wind blew in, the candles flickered out, then relit with green flames. Her face turned ghostly. Her voice went faint. "Lionsy, is that you? Mommy died so horribly. Avenge me." It was my mom. I wanted to ask who killed her, but remembered the rule. A gust hit me, my mind fogged. I bit my tongue to stay sharp, but blurted, "Mom, how do you die? Who did it?" I LL get them. "Big mistake." Her voice twisted. "Wanna know? Ask her down there." Granny Liu's hands shot for my throat. I dodged through ash. She screamed but got crazier, lunging again. She grabbed me, lifting me off the ground. I couldn't break free. Wang Yaokai at the shop sensed it. He bolted to Granny Liu's, bursting in as I blacked out. His face went cold. "Get out," he said. The ghost shrieked and vanished. We were both out cold. He wiped the bloody rice off, forming a maid character, then carried me back to the shop. I woke to the dog's face in mine. Old son was there with water. "Granny Liu's fine," he said. "Where is my cousin?" I asked. He looked confused. No one else was here. The dog dragged me over. After he left, I biked around town looking for Wang Yaokai, no luck. Back at the shop, a grim old man with tattooed goons showed up, lighthead gang vibes. I smiled nervously. "Hey old man, brother, someone died. Need paper figures or horses?" They were scoping me out, but my words sounded like a taunt. The goons stepped up, but the old man stopped them, eyeing Wang Yaokai's paper figures. He bowed. "Fine yin yang work. Didn't he expect a master here? My useless disciples, didn't he die for nothing?" He glanced inside, face darkening. "Since we raid both in the trade, I'll be straight. Hand over Lin Yin and the 7 color stone, and we'll call it even for killing my men. Deal." I had no clue what he meant. The dog charged, barking. I held it back. The goons' bags squirmed and screeched. The old man sneered. "Don't you wanna talk old business? No need to stick your mud on us. See you around." They stormed off. "Great," I pissed off the mob, I groaned. The dog glared at me like I was an idiot. Later, the execution families came by, drawn to the paper figures. An old guy bowed. "Didn't he expect a fellow insider? We can take the joy gods home yet? Can they rest in your corpse nurturing ground a few days?" More gibberish. They were corpse herders, joy gods meant bodies. He offered Lin yuan for 4 corpses, 3 days max plus. Lin daily if they overstayed. Broke as hell. I took the cash without asking what joy gods were. "Leave the back door open," he said, "and keep your spirit dog away. They want to get up if it is near." Night fell. No Wang Yaokai at repeat. Them. The herders returned in black robes, ringing bells and waving flags. They propped 4 shrouded guests against the wall. The old guy suggested a drink. In the back, he spotted my immortal plaques and hesitated. "Didn't he peg you for a paper crafter and a horse rider? No wonder you race so skilled." Creepy voices hissed in his ear. "Old man, you ray just passing through. Mind your business or else." My wild immortals. He froze, glancing at the side room. I laughed bitterly. "You don't know, I only keep them to stay alive." He couldn't believe someone this skilled was just surviving. Too scared to pry, he finished his drink and left, slipping me a square object. A powerful horse rider gave me the seal. "Never needed it, hope it helps you." I thanked him. Outside town, his crew asked why he gave it up. "That kid's got potential if he survives. Call it a good deed," he said. They headed to a tomb for the 7 color stone, doubting the Jiangtou sure had it. Meanwhile, the lighthead gang plotted in the woods. The old Jiangtou scoffed those paper figures at his door. Only a senpai. Year-old ghost could make M. You think he is no threat. They fumed over their dead brothers and the missing stone. He set up a 5-point star with candles, nailed my photo with a coffin spike, smeared it with crow blood, and made a black cat stare at it. When he choked the cat, it clawed the photo, blood dripping. At the shop mid-incense, I screamed and collapsed. Deep gashes tore my face, blood gushing, bones grinding. I thrashed, crashed into the male figurine, and passed out. My blood soaked into it, and a cold laugh echoed from inside. In the woods, the cat died. A gust snuffed most candles. The Jiangtou spat black blood. "Relight them, idiot!" He yelled at his guy. No matter how they tried, the flames died. Something blew them out. "Ghost blows the lamp," he rasped. 3 light fires, head and shoulders. "Extinguish them, and you ray fair game." Screams rang out. His men dead. Zombie. One yelled before his head rolled to the Jiangtou as feet. An upside-down walker, Jiang, crawled out, head bent back, a woman's bloody face on his chest. The Jiangtou ripped his scorpion tattoo off, flesh and all. "Scorpion god, save me." It grew huge and charged, but the walker grabbed it, bit down and chewed. The Jiangtou shoved his last guy forward and ran. The walker caught him, ripped out his still beating heart, and left with my photo underfoot. I woke to the dog's face again, grumbling it scratched me. It gave me a dumb look and walked off. Still no Wang Yaokai. I asked Granny Liu to find him. At her place, she saw me and gasped, "Kid, what happened? You look awful." I shrugged, "Just the dog." Shouldn't he buy it, pricked my finger and dropped the blood and rice. It sizzled, smoked black. You've been hit with a santo. She paced helpless. Why every damn thing after you? Freaked I said, a santo sure why me? Shouldn't he know either, dragged me and old son to the shop. At his place, he was waiting, eyes dim. Old son, what do you run into last night? Your life fires are weak, she said. He smirked, tell you later. At the shop, they spotted the corpses. Lionsy, why be you got joy gods here? ULL take anything. I laughed, explained the herder, and showed them the seal. Real immortal stuff, no harm meant, Granny Liu said. They searched but found nothing odd. They lit incense for my wild immortals. The grasshopper spirit, ex-Jambanksian S snapped. P.S. always with those creepy figurines. We ray not messing with that, leave us alone. Granny Liu backed off. Old son explained his night. 3 ghosts in old-time clothes knocked, pale and twisted. Evil spirits. He let them in, pretending not to notice. They grinned, black blood dripping, and ordered 7 coffins, 4 black, 3 white all square. They paid with Old Republic cash and said, 3 days or you'll regret it, then floated off. Granny Liu checked his wrist, black bruises. Ghost grip, they V-marked you. He nodded. They ray tough. I can take 'em. I am old, I'll die if I die, but they'll hurt more people. How do you know? I asked. 7 coffins, black for violent deaths, white for young girls or boys. Square trap souls, no reincarnation. They ray planning a massacre. Furious, I asked how to stop them. They were outmatched, centuries-old ghosts. My wild immortals would run or turn on us. What about the yellow immortal who saved me? I said. Desperate, they agreed to try. Granny Liu suggested Jiudaeku village, holy ground for immortals. They couldn't go, so I'd have to. She gave me a 1-day talisman. Back by midnight and Don T turn around, no matter what. I took a cab. Leaving town, my head spun, chest ached, same curse. The talisman glowed, easing it. Voices called my sister, foster dad, mom. I nearly looked, but held firm. Then my body turned on its own. The figurines loomed huge over town. The man's face stitched with scars, the woman in a bridal gown, singing opera beckoning me. I floated, fading, then Wang Yaokai appeared. I snapped back, everything gone. Hallucination, I muttered. Jiudaeku was a construction site, village gone. A worker said they demoved, no clue where. I bowed 3 times at the old site, disappointed, and left. I stepped on something, a tiny wooden knife with sloppy carving. Little knife, jingle jang, stabs the 8th master as big pants. Yay, kid s toy, I figged but kept it close. Back before dark, I told the elders. They were bummed. Old son said those ghosts wanted 7 coffins right. That white bus had 7 seats. Granny Lee Zhangbanxian, we shivered. Yin spirit bus is underworld stuff. How ray those ghosts linked? He wondered. The herder showed up staying outside. He saw old son's weak energy and offered to clear his corpse poison from the grave dirt. Outside, he stuck needles in old son's acupoints, chanted and rolled sticky rice paste over his head. The green drained from his eyes, poison gone. Then, a chill hit us all. The paper figures turned, staring at the herder. Opera sang from the female figurine. Ghost soldiers ride the yin wind to the hall, a voice hissed. Outsider, why meddle? Afraid to die. He backed off, spooked. Daytime haunting. What s in here, Zhao? I shrugged. I was a victim too. I stepped up. Hey, big sis, you heard him. I am not lighting your midnight incense. It shut up. He thanked me, then froze. This place reeks of corpse energy. Don T tell me it's filled with blood and flesh. Old son nodded, spilling the basics. The herder gaped. No wonder it's on a white tiger Shah spot. No wonder a guy like you is guarding it. He handed me cash. My guests need a few more days. If I Don T come back in 5, bury them extra. Oh, Lan. As for that, bury what? I asked. Granny Liu chuckled, corpses duh. Old son asked what was up, he saved him after all. The herder mentioned the 7-color stone, a cursed rock from a tortured official's tomb. They needed it. Old son offered to join them, repay the favor, and tackle the ghosts together. The dog dragged in a filthy rag. Granny Liu cleaned it, immortal banner, hall treasure. With the seal I had 2 of 4. We LL find the rest, old son said. They left to prep for the ghosts. I worried about Wang Yaokai, 3 days gone. Past midnight, a knock. I thought it was him, but the air turned icy, my wild immortals trembling. A voice sang, "Yin and Yang, I am the boss." They screamed and fled. The dog stared at me, scared but sad. I grabbed the wooden knife, knock stopped. I hugged the dog and hid. Dawn broke with town-wide wails, kids dead. The ghost struck. The herder said they failed to stop them, 3 kids gone, Granny Liu hurt. A boy ate himself alive, possessed. Old son fought but couldn't save him. They ray out for revenge, the herder said. Did the town wrong them? The elders clammed up, glancing at the shop. Too long ago we don't know, Granny Liu said, urging him to leave. The paper figures twitched, staring at the town entrance. We followed their gaze, tense. Something was coming.